Good morning, children. I am sure you all are hale and hearty. Children, in our last class, we had started third lesson of Unit 3, that is A Crow in the House, written by Ruskin Bond. Now, Ruskin Bond's stories revolve around his love for nature, and the lesson A Crow in the House is no exception. We see the narrator and his grandfather saving a crow from dying and bringing it home. Then what happens next, we are going to see in the lesson. But before that, we must remember that they could successfully bring back the crow to consciousness, and they were taking good care of him, and slowly the crow had started creating nuisance. Now take out your textbooks and let us see the lesson. Take out your textbook, page number 65. Have pencil in your hand. We had completed the first paragraph of this page, and we are going to start with the second paragraph. So let us start reading the lesson. We did try keeping Caesar in cage, but he was so angry and objected with such fierce cawing and flapping that it was better for our nerves and peace of mind to give him the run of the house. Now what do you mean by this? We did keep trying Caesar in cage, but he was so angry. He did not agree with being in the cage, and he shows his objection with cawing. Cawing is a cry of a crow. And how was the cawing? It was very fierce, means it was very high pitched, aggressive cawing and flapping. He was moving the wings up and down violently. So that was better for our nerves, and that it was better for our nerves and peace of mind means to avoid nuisance, to avoid the tension that he could create. They gave him the run of the house, means they gave him full freedom. He did not show any inclination to join the other crows in the banyan tree. Inclination means he did not show any interest. There was no desire to join the other crows in the banyan tree. Actually, it is so obvious that a bird would enjoy a bird's company, but he was not at all he was not at all interested in joining the other crows on the banyan tree. Grandfather said this was because he was really a jungle crow, a raven of sorts. A raven of sorts means raven is a different category of crows, a little superior, and the ravens are little larger in size as well. So he was little different from the other crows, and probably felt a little contemptuous of very ordinary carrion crows, means showing disregard. He felt very insulted joining the other carrion crows. Now carrion crows are the crows that we find in our surrounding. These are the crows. They feed on dead flesh or decaying flesh or any other garbage they could find. So he felt little insulted joining these birds. But it seemed to me that Caesar, having grown used to living with humans on equal terms, had become snobbish. Means he was very young when the bird was brought home by the narrator. He was very young, and the bird was equally brought up in the home. So he was very, very familiar with the humans. So he felt little snobbish, means he became little selfish or superior and did not wish to mix with his own kind. He would even squabble with Harold. Squabble means quarrel noisily. He would quarrel very noisily with Harold. Now Harold is the name of the hornbill. Now hornbills are the birds whose bills or beaks are horn-shaped. They are like horns, and hence they are named as hornbill. Even we have in our school the nesting of hornbills. They are very beautiful and little larger birds. So he was kept in a cage. He was one of the pets of the grandfather. Perching on top of Harold's cage. Perching means resting, alighting on top of Harold's cage. He would peck at the big bird's feet. What he would do with big bird's feet? He would bite it with beak. Thereupon Harold would swear and scold. He would use bad words for him and scold and try to catch Caesar through the bars. But he was unable to catch him. In time, Caesar learned to talk a little as ravens sometimes do. Raven is a different category of birds, and sometimes they even try to imitate what humans speak. So he tried to talk a little in a cracked, throaty voice. Cracked means very sharp throaty voice. He would try to utter words. He would sit for hours outside the window, banging on the glass with its beak and calling, "Hello, hello." This he must have observed his grandfather would greet narrator when he came from school. So he had observed it. He seemed to recognize the click of the gate. As soon as the narrator would come home from school, he would recognize. He became so familiar that he would identify the master has come. When I came home from school and would come to the door with a hop, a skip, and jump. With a hop means he would hop like a jump like a frog. Skip means he would take long jumps. And jump means normal jump, saying hello, hello. I had also taught him to sit on my arm and say kiss, kiss, while he placed his head, that is his beak, gently against my mouth. Now he learned this. Now, on one of Aunt Mabel's visits, Caesar alighted on her arm and cackled. Cackled means very clucking cry, made a rough, throaty voice and said, "Case, case." Aunt Mabel was delighted. She became very happy and possibly flattered. She liked the way he offered her and leaned forward for a kiss. She was very happy. But Caesar's attention shifted to my aunt's gleaming spectacles, spectacles which were very shining brightly, and thrusting at them with his beak, he knocked them off. He jumped at them and thrown them off. Aunt Mabel was never a success with the now, what does it mean that she was never a success with pets? See, Aunt Mabel never was a success with the pets means Aunt Mabel didn't get along well with the pets. She probably must be afraid of them, or there must be some inherent dislike for pets that repelled pets from developing a rapport with her, as pets are very quick at sensing love and dislike. So I hope you understood what this line means. Pet or pest? See, there is only a single letter that differs the word pet and pest. They are totally two different words. Pet is a domesticated animal and we enjoy the company of a pet. We willingly keep the pet. Whereas pest creates nuisance like mosquitoes, spider or any other insects are pests. So, grandmother insisted that Caesar was a pest as he had started creating nuisance in spite of his engaging habits. Engaging means very attractive or charming. If he had restricted his activities to our own house, it would not have been so bad. But he took to visiting neighboring. He took to visiting means he visited regularly as a matter of habit but without permission. He visited neighboring houses and stealing pens and pencils, hair ribbons, combs, keys, shuttlecocks, toothbrushes and even false teeth. He was especially fond of toothbrushes. He is especially fond of toothbrushes and made a collection of them on top of the cupboard in my room. Most of the neighbors were represented in our house by a toothbrush. Now, why it is said that it means that Caesar had gathered almost everyone's toothbrush from neighborhood. So, in the narrator's house, there was a whole collection of these toothbrushes which represented the person from neighborhood to whom it actually belonged, So, a little sentence which is very comic says, toothbrush sales went up that year. So did grandmother's blood pressure. So that increased grandmother's blood pressure equally. Caesar spied on children. Spied means he observed them carefully. He observed what they did. So he spied on children going into the Baniya's shop. Now Baniya, you understand? Baniya is a Hindi word which means grocer's shop where almost everything is available. So they went into Baniya's shop and often managed to snatch sweets from them as they came out. Clothes pegs. Fascinated him means attracted him. Now you know children, pegs are the clips that are kept on a clothesline so that the clothes that are kept for drying, they don't fall. So pegs are clips. So it attracted his attention. Neighbors would return from the bazaar to find their washing lying in the mud and no sign of the pegs. These two found their way to the top of my cupboard. It was Caesar's gardening activities that finally led to disaster. Now, disaster means the real tragedy that occurred, you know. So, it was Caesar's gardening activities that finally led to disaster. He was helping himself to our neighbor's beans means the neighbors have grown beans. He was helping himself. Now here it means he was taking the beans without permission. He was helping himself to our neighbor's beans when a stick was flung at him, and they threw a stick at him, breaking his leg. That broke his leg. I carried the unfortunate bird. Why the bird is called unfortunate here? Because the stick really hurt him. I carried the unfortunate bird home, and grandfather and I washed and bandaged his leg as best we could. But it would not mend. Mend means it was not showing any recovery, it did not repair. Caesar hung his head and no longer talked. He grew weaker day by day, refusing to eat. An occasional sip of grandmother's homemade wine was all that kept him going means he was alive only on that. One morning I found him dead on sofa, his legs stiff in the air. Poor Caesar. So he felt very pity on Caesar. Poor Caesar. His antisocial habits had led to his early end. Antisocial means that was against the society, stealing, troubling, creating nuisance, finally led to his early end. I dug a shallow grave in the garden. Grave is burying place in the garden, and buried him there along with all the toothbrushes and clothes pegs he had taken so much trouble to collect. Why he must have kept all the things that he had collected with him? Because he was fond of it. This shows the narrator really loved Caesar. And that is the end of the story. That is a small part taken from Grandfather's Private Zoo, written by Ruskin Bond. So we have seen over here that a pet crow and his behavior, and how, although on one hand is considered to be the pet, how he created nuisance, and finally his nature was the reason for his end. Now children, we are going to discuss the workshop in our next class. Till then, you have to read the lesson properly. Try to understand the new words, and don't forget to take care. Okay? See you in the next class. Till then, goodbye. Thank you so much.